Good morning everyone and welcome back to a professional match of StarCraft 2. Today it's time for a top level game of Terran versus Terran. It's the Monday morning over here in the Netherlands and I'm excited for it because I get to start off this week once again with some top level StarCraft. So first off, in the bottom left hand corner of 2000 Atmos, we have the #1 Terran from South Korea. He of course goes by the name of Maru. And his opponent playing here with the hot pink Terran pieces. Not a color we normally see, but I actually kind of dig it. Anyways, he's considered to be, at the very least according to Aligalek, the rank 2 Terran from South Korea. So I guess we'll find out who the best Terran player is. Anyways, we are looking at none other than Kjur's main command center. Now, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, okay. I did see an SCV from Maru already making its way across the map. Now, in case you're unfamiliar, Maru's best matchup is Terran versus Terran. So if I were a betting man, despite the fact that it's the #1 from Korea going up against the #2 Terran from Korea, right? I would probably always... Well, I guess it's probably a good idea to put your money on Maru regardless. But especially when it comes to Terran versus Terran, Maru doesn't really lose. So we'll find out together exactly what ended up going down between these two. This is a match from the Casters Civil War, which is a whole lot of best of ones. Basically, it's a team-based tournament. So if you haven't subscribed to this channel already, make sure to do so you get notified as soon as the best games from this tournament go up over the course of the next couple of weeks. Anyways, Kjur, going for a double gas approach. The same can be said for Maru. This does mean that both players will plan on transitioning towards a factory pretty quick. Kjur did go for the SCV scout. He now sees, okay, there's nothing on top of the ramp. He sees the timing right here of the factory. So he knows that his opponent is probably... Well, I mean, it doesn't really mean that he's planted the barracks on the other side, right? You never really know with Maru. He could be building it right over here. He could be building it somewhere in one of the dark spots inside of the main base. Although I think Kjur actually did get a glimpse of that. So it's safe to assume that this is going to be a proxy to Rex. Kjur's going to go for a bunker inside of the main base. You know, follows up with a marine as well. I kind of dig it. And actually, the supply depot here on top of this little jump-up pad is already done. So if the Reapers do want to go into the main base here from Maru in a second, they're going to have to go past the bunker, which, yeah, will probably not be great for them. Assuming this supply depot is raised, right? Anyhow, let's see. So Kjur is going to send his very first Reaper towards the other side of the map now that he knows that it's somewhat safe. Maru is waiting for the second Reaper to come out, okay? He's going to use the barracks over here for some additional scouting. Let's see, though. Yeah, nice movement right here from Kjur. He's making all the right choices. Yep, the Reapers got gunned at. Okay, I like the start here from Kjur quite a bit. Cyclone coming up for Mr. Maru. Kjur, though. All right, he's going to go around. One SCV over here taking a lot of damage, too. Don't think it's going to be able to escape. Oh, my God. Fidget spinner SCV. Straight to the surface of 2000 Atmos. Ooh, nice little bit of repair micro right there. Keeping those units alive. Ooh, yep, he does actually keep them alive, and he does now snipe the opponent's unit. Not bad whatsoever. In the meantime, though, okay, Kjur started up his own command center on the low ground. Maru landed the barracks over there in his preferred location. Not a big deal because command centers can fly, but it's just going to slow down our pink Terran here ever so slightly. Alright, Reaper's going across the map this time around together with a Cyclone. There's also a defensive Cyclone already out. Who's gonna get the lock-on first? Well, considering Kjur used his lock-on right there on a Reaper, yeah, Maru is gonna be able to target fire it down pretty easy. I think 2 Reapers right there in exchange for a Cyclone is a pretty good choice. The follow-up right here from Kjur as well is gonna be a Banshee. Okay, fair enough. And now actually this command center on the low ground is in a little bit of trouble. Maru did make a second Cyclone, and he's making a third one right now too. But he's not sending it across. Maybe a little bit concerned for a Banshee to already... No, there's no way it could already be out. I think if he would have sent it across... Yeah, he's playing it very safe. There's probably a good chance he could have killed the command center here. Anyways, now there's going to be an additional Cyclone popping out of the factory here for Kjur. Lock on right there on the SCV, okay. Does snipe it once more just to slow it down a little bit, but... I think eventually we are going to stabilize. Okay, Cyclone coming back in for more. Oh, he decides to scan and he does find the full lock-on. Snipes it, but there's no way. No way that was worth it. Okay, no, that was a little bit overly ambitious right there. Banshee, though, on the other side of the map, gets locked onto as well. Kills one worker. Yeah, not ideal. All right, a very action-packed first 5 minutes of this game. You can see why a lot of games, even at the pro level, usually end by this moment, right? It's kind of like the Zergling Baneling phase in Zerg versus Zerg. It's very easy for one player, like this is infinitely more complex, but it's really easy for one player to make a grand mistake and then lose the game. Third command center, by the way, on the third base location, Maru. I guess planning on just being so aggressive that his opponent isn't going to be moving out here anytime soon. Okay, Raven is out here. He's gonna go for a second Raven. I really do like this start from Maru right now, though. Yeah, I was a little bit concerned for it earlier, because Kjör did some nice little bit of damage with that first Reaper of his, but right now I think we're in a position where Maru is feeling comfortable. Maru's so relentless too, man. Just once again, sending all of the units he's got towards the other side. There's a defensive Raven here for Kjör. He can pop the auto turret, if he wants to. Yeah. Oh no, he decides to go for the interference matrix instead. Now locks onto it. Fair enough. There was a medevac though that snuck out with full units. So... Kjör? Hey. Psst, Kjör. I know you're busy. I don't mean to psst you, but yeah, okay. We are gonna continue flying. Not really a lot of room for, okay. A little bit of energy forced to be spent right there by that Raven too, but there's not really a whole lot of wiggle room against someone like Maru, so you gotta keep going. Oh, lock on right here on the Cyclone right now too, but that's not gonna be enough. Repairs right here from the SCVs will be bringing it back up to full HP. Alright. Yeah, imagine playing against these two, right? In a Terran versus Terran, you'd already be dead by this point. Like, unless you're a Grandmaster Terran, you're probably already dead. Let's be real. There's so much variety here already. It's very hard to figure out exactly what your best moves are, but I like this counterattack from Kjör quite a bit, though. Didn't think it was going to be this successful. Sorry, Jimmy. Actually, Jimmy lived a little bit longer there than the rest of the crew. Since there was no boost available on that medevac, he couldn't get out. Alright, third command center is going to finish up for Kjör. Third command center for Maru is already done, so I guess he's going to be able to mine that a little bit quicker. But all things considered, we're actually in a very even game. Look at that. Now we're both starting up Stimpack. I'm expecting +1 infantry here as well, and +1/+1, I guess, for Kjör here in a little bit. He's a little bit late on those NG base, though. I would love to see those starting up. Anyhow. 2 Ravens going across. The pink color really does look good in the Terran units, right? Am I crazy? Anyways, not a color we usually see. I think in a caster Civil War, every single caster had like their own team, right? And they all had like their own color associated with it. So I think that's why Kjör right here is playing with pink, but I actually kind of dig it. Anyways. Gotta be careful though, you really don't want to lose those units. There is, yeah, there's no recall available on those, right? So I think that those Ravens are on a one-way trip. There's a couple of Vikings available. There's that lock-on improvement as well for the Cyclones. He's gonna try and split them up, so maybe trying to go in for one more auto turret right here in the back. Killing like 6-7 workers though at the exchange of 2 Ravens, is that worth it? Yeah, it's better than nothing, that's for certain. So I notice I know I do this every single Terran versus Terran that I cast, but I do think it's important to go over the Raven abilities just because it's the one unit that I think a lot of people get a little bit confused by. I mean, Marines kind of obvious, Vikings kind of obvious, Siege Tanks very obvious, right? All of those units make sense. The Ravens, though, are huge, so they have a couple of skills and all of them are useful. First off, you saw the auto turret, right? It's a little turret, they pop down, it's got timed life, deals a hell of a lot of damage. Secondly, it's got interference matrix that we saw earlier from Maru 2. Where you basically temporarily shut down one of your opponent's units. And then lastly, it's got the anti-armor missile, which basically coats units in orange. You can also accidentally affect your own units by it. That's not really what you want. But it coats the units from your opponent temporarily in orange. And while they're colored in that beautiful paint, they're going to be taking additional damage. So the Ravens are actually huge. So despite the fact here that Kjör does have a supply lead, he lacks a couple of Ravens here that Maru has. Maru, though. Oh my god, Maru. Really? Ugh. Why are we YOLOing in the units? I don't think I really like the Raven movement here from these guys very much. Okay. Yeah, so in the end, it's, no, that's definitely not worth. Especially since you can't really do any additional damage, right? Like, say you could stim in or run in right here with the Cyclones at the front. Maybe you could, like, deal some double damage, right? You could do, like, the 1-2 punch. But, yeah, there's a couple of Siege Tanks at the front. Not really a chance in, you know, you're gonna be able to get any damage in here. Alright, so a little bit of questionable decision-making, I would say, on those Ravens. Although maybe I'm mistaken, I don't know. These guys understand Terran versus Terran way more than I do. But that seemed like a bit of a waste. Anyhow. Did he already finish up 1-1? Yeah, he did. Okay. So 2-2 started here for Maru a little bit quicker. This is a classic mistake, by the way. We see this even apparently at this level, where Cures tried to start up 2-2 and then he realized, ah, crap, I forgot an armory. So if you're a Gold League hero and that happens to you in all of your games too, in order to go for 2-2, in case you're unfamiliar, you need to have an armory out. So 1-1 just requires the NG base, but 2-2 and 3-3 require you to have an armory. Apparently even Cure forgets them from time to time, which definitely not ideal though. So since Marines come out in such large numbers in this matchup, the upgrades on them are so critical. And Maru is gonna, yeah, be quite a bit ahead here. Oh my god, well this is also another big area here from Cure. Yep, loses the command center in about 3 seconds. Not anticipating a big group of Marines to be right over here. Loses a Viking as well. Forcing a Stimpak right there. Maru so far seems to be running circles around Cure. But Cure, of course, the people's Terran, I think is what Winter calls him. He's a player you can learn from, right? Like, if you look at Maru's decision-making, a lot of it is extremely hard and, like, pretty much impossible to copy. I mean, you can try, but you'll probably find yourself throwing away 7 Cyclones before you do any damage, right? You'll probably YOLO in the Ravens every single time, just like Maru did as well. He takes a lot of chances, and while they're calculated decisions, they only really make sense because he's played a gajillion games, right? He understands exactly where he's currently at. Cure's decision-making is usually a little bit more safe, a little bit more straightforward. So I do think if you're trying to learn Terran, Mr. Cure is a guy you can learn from, because at the very least he looks like a player you can, you know, execute in your own games. Whereas like Maru, super hard. Clem, pretty much impossible. Björn, not gonna happen. But Cure, yeah, very good Terran player. Doesn't really make any crazy choices, just plays solid, straightforward macro. And he usually does so very cleanly. Anyhow, we're gonna go for the starports. So, this is the point in the game where you want to go for as many Ravens as you can. So, those upgrades, we don't really see them all too often. I'm trying to think of the name right now. I can't even come up with the name. Ah! Anyways, it's the Raven Energy Boost. I'm failing caster school. Hold up. Raven StarCraft 2. I need to look this up right now because otherwise I can't let it go. I know there's action on the map, but someone in the comment section can let me know as well. It is called Corvid Reactor. Right. Oh, it's the Corvid Reactor. Right. I made jokes about that last year because, you know, if you said the C word, you might get demonetized on YouTube on that video. Don't want to do that, man. Don't say that. But this is Corvid. Okay, it's totally fine. Totally fine. Don't worry about it. Anyhow. It's an energy boost. It increases the Raven starting energy by 25. Usually you go for that upgrade when you plan on making a lot of Ravens. If you only plan on making 1 or 2, not really a unit you want to be building. Or, sorry, an upgrade you want to be getting. But in this particular case, yeah, if you plan on making a lot of them. The thing is, you can also disable your opponent's Ravens with Interference Matrix. So ideally, I guess, like, if the Raven count is X, you want to have X plus 1 compared to your opponent, if that makes any sense. Like, you don't want to have too many, but you also don't want to have too few. It's kind of like Vipers in Zerg versus Zerg, you know? With Hydra Lurker Viper, you need Vipers, but you can't have just Vipers. Ravens are very similar. Anyhow, Marines moving on over towards the top left. Cure finds an expansion. Maru greedily taking all of the bases on his side of the map already, though. This is the moment, apparently, where neither player has managed to actually win the game yet. So now we go into that territory of Terran versus Terran that is relatively undiscovered, I would say. Like 90%, probably like 95% of the games are decided by now in Terran versus Terran. Oh my god. Really? This is the move? That's the... Okay, sure. That's what I mean, man. If you're looking at Maru's games, you're like, yep, that's what I want to copy. I don't think you want to be stimming Marines into tanks like that, all right? Unless you know exactly what you're doing. Anyways, Maru showcasing that apparently he also has that micro capability that Mr. Well, Clem is known for. Björn is known for. But in the meantime, one thing that we know Maru for, especially over the last half year or so, is turtling up. Now, usually what Maru does when he turtles up is that he sits back in his own bases. But apparently he's setting up like a staging ground right over here in the middle of the map. And you know what? I kind of dig it. We're going for flyer attacks, by the way. That's always good to see. Right? I'm always hoping for the mass Battlecruiser transition. I know it's probably not going to happen. We're probably just going to go Vikings and Liberators and all that, but one day. And I kind of like this. This is hard to engage into right now if you're Cure. I like this little move from Cure too, though. He's like, yeah, sure, you can put your entire army on the right side of the map, but what do you have on the left side? This is dealing a ton of damage. An all-army hotkey, it looks like. Sending pretty much the entire Terran force in blue towards this side. It killed a command center and 13 workers. Pretty sick. Actually, really good. Okay, eventually that army will be killed. I think Maru will probably go, yeah. Maybe a planetary fortress in that location. Not a terrible idea, while he's taking control of the entire bottom right-hand corner. Despite the fact that Cure was a little bit later on his 3-3, he's finished it. It's the most important part. Oh, here's the anti-armor missile. Yep. Both players, though. Using it on each other's units. The big Viking dance. So, as soon as you win the Viking battle, you can go for a Liberator transition. Liberators are very good at forcing the opponent's units to unsiege. Now, that's also, of course, where the high-sec auto-tracking comes in. So this is a little upgrade you can get in the NG Bay that allows your missile turrets and your planetaries to get additional range. Anyways. Makes it harder for those libs and all those other units to actually come in. Here's another anti-armor missile, okay. It's gotta be careful, though. There's a lot of siege tanks in the back for Cure as well. Man, these guys are so ridiculously good. It's honestly unreal. Like, they're doing so many different things at once. I just want to emphasize how easy it is to accidentally roll your siege tanks in range right there of your opponent's siege tanks. And that sometimes you give them the siege up command and they awkwardly siege up and then they're dead by the time you can move them again. It's, yeah, it's very easy to accidentally lose. Anyways, Maru tested the waters, didn't really come through there. Excellent defense from Cure. Cure might not have as many bases taken, though, but he is doing a little bit of a better job in these fights. Okay, now he's gonna go for a command center over there. Yeah, Cure is more conservative usually with his expansion timings. So Maru is already taking the entire bottom right. He's probably gonna go for this expansion too in a second once this command center finishes. He doesn't even have enough SCVs to mine any of those, by the way. So I guess that's also why Cure decides to expand a little bit more conservatively. A little bit at a slower pace. I mean, what's the point of having a gajillion bases when you can't even mine them? You need like 100 SCVs when you have 50 mineral patches. Which is a bit much. Anyhow, expansions that were taken at the beginning of the game are going to start running very low. The natural, pretty much out. The third, pretty much out. So those outer bases are going to become very important very soon. I know Terran vs. Terran in general by the StarCraft community is like considered to be the most disliked matchup. I like the fact though that I'm casting them for YouTube, right? So I can pick and choose the games I want to cast. Because even like your average game of Terran vs. Terran between like your quote-unquote average pro gamers, those games can be really quite, you know, boring? Is that the correct word? It sounds mean. Anyhow. Because I get to cast, you know, whatever game I like right here on the YouTube channel and I can pick and choose, we get to have games like this, right? This is excellent. Love this. So if you only watch Terran vs. Terran on my YouTube, I guess, or on my YouTube channel, you're probably going to be pretty fond of the matchup. Anyways, huge anti-armor missile over there. Maru was thinking about moving forward, but there's still a bunch of Marines on the ground. Gotta respect the group of Marines. Missile turrets obviously also deal damage. Do think he may have been able to jump that. Anyways. Man, Maru. Dude, the guy is so ridiculous with the command center count lately. Look at the amount of command centers he's got. So at some point, even though, you know, these players don't have map hacks, it basically is like they do because they can just scan wherever they like. We're already at 6 orbitals on both sides of the map. Now there's additional command centers coming up for the both of them. Additional orbitals coming up as well for the both of them. Okay, here we go once again. Anti-armor missiles on both sides. The Viking battles are really hard to read. But you can see right now that Maru has got 28. Kiara's 20. Like, it's hard for us to read, and we have full vision, right? These guys don't have full vision like that. They obviously don't really know exactly. You can kind of judge, though, by how good you've been taking previous engagements. You're both making the same units. How well things are going. Anyways, siege tank count heavily in favor right here of our pink Terran. It's 14 versus only 6, so he can be definitely a little bit more aggressive. Time to clear out a couple of those. Man, I love what Kira's doing. There's the fusion core. We're going into +3 flyer attacks. It's double armory, by the way, for Maru. Didn't even realize that. That's cool. Slowly making that transition towards mech. Marines are good and all. But eventually you want to trade them out for units that are a little bit more powerful. It's just that earlier on into the game, they're too expensive. At this point, though, these guys are rich. They can make whatever army they like. And apparently it's no longer Marines. Maru desperately trying to hold on to this base. Now Kira's doing the same thing that was previously happening on the other side of the map. Yeah, he's scanning right over here too. He's like, wait a second. I think I can move in there. Anyhow, he's doing the same thing that Maru was doing on the other side of the map. Taking that expo. He's taking the top left. Dude, Kira's so underrated. Like, even after winning a GSL Code S, right? I still feel like Kira is underrated. Maybe I'm stupid, but I really feel like people don't really talk about Kira nearly as often as he deserves. The guy is so ridiculous, man. I've been casting his games for years, and he's really good. Anyhow, I guess my point is that, like, everyone knows Maru is good, right? Everyone's like, ah, yeah. Like, 99% of you that looked at this game when you saw the title of it, right? You probably thought, okay, that's going to be a Maru win, right? Kira is doing just fine. Anyway. Like, I do the same thing. I find myself doing the same thing. So maybe I'm arguing, you know, with myself. But Kira really is super good. Maru's got a little carried away, though, in the Viking count. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like the fact that he's got a lot of Vikings, but I wonder if 33 is too many. He's adding on more. So he's going for a full-on Sky Terran army now. He still has a bunch of siege tanks, a couple Marines here and there. But he's now going, yeah, full Sky Terran. So we started with Marine Tank. Then we went to Tank Viking. And now we're gonna go Tank Viking Viper Liberator. Okay. Oh my god, that's so much damage being done on both sides, though. Those Ravens definitely do help out with their anti-armor missile. But I think that the Viking count right here for Maru might just be a little bit too high. Yeah, he doesn't care about the anti-armor missile. Whew, okay. So that fight right there for Maru was, I think, pretty good. Can he really capitalize on it, though? So the thing about Liberators, by the way, is that, yeah, Liberators can force siege tanks to unsiege, but they don't deal damage to structures. So the guys in the missile turret are, yeah, are gonna be fine. At the same time, okay, nice little move right here from Cure. Bottom right-hand corner, being taken care of. Maru is nowhere to be seen even remotely around this stage of the map, so... Yep, since he's so focused on fighting the top left, and since he's going for a much slower-paced army, Cure is going to be able to take... Yeah, he's going to be able to take care of these bases easy peasy. Maru needs to address this. Like, he's busy fighting over here, but losing 3 command centers of your own in exchange for a single one of your opponent, believe it or not, is not great. Maru does have a huge amount of money, though. So maybe he's like, okay... Maybe I can take this gamble, knowing my opponent is likely gonna run out of juice before I do. That being said, I mean, he's now literally lost 3 command centers. Cure is not done yet. And he's also still not taking care of that planetary in the top left. Okay, eventually I think this will go down. Kure is doing an excellent job holding onto this base. Buying as much time as humanly possible. The problem is, once you get into this position, the base in the top left is also very exposed. Yep. Still, though. There's a planetary... Oh, guys, it's happening! We have a triple Battlecruiser production right now. Okay, so... Maru started Marine Tank. Then he went Viking Tank. Then he went Raven Viking Liberator. And now he's going into Battlecruisers. Not a situation we commonly see. Mass Battlecruiser is amazing. It's extremely hard to beat. The problem with Mass Battlecruiser, though, is that it's incredibly expensive. So it's 400 minerals, 300 gas each, right? It's super pricey. Anyways, Maru's defense against that little squad was apparently by blinking in Battlecruisers that he hadn't even started yet at that point. The Viking count here for for Kure, though, is still very high. 31 versus 27 Vikings. I'm just thinking that these Vikings could potentially pick off the Battlecruisers one at a time. Especially if tactical jump is on cooldown. I mean, it's going to be very hard to get him out of the battle. Anyways, here we go. Once again, an absolute slugfest of TvT. I'm still liking Kure's position a lot. A lot of that money that Maru had mined that he was taking an advantage with. Ooh, nice. Actually, interference matrixing all of the Battlecruisers over here. A lot of that money is now spent. Those Ravens here from Kure helping out a lot. That being said, I still think that the air battle, here is being won by Mr. Maru. And once the air units are, taken care of, he can start marching forward. Keep in mind, these are well-upgraded Battlecruisers, right? So, look at the upgrades here. Those are incredibly powerful. Every single missile from those Battlecruisers deals 3 additional damage than they spawned with at the beginning of the match, or would have spawned with. It's an insane amount of damage. Strategically, Maru is just so strong. The problem, though, with Battlecruisers is, yes, they dominate the skies and the ground. They're also very slow. So, Kure right now thinking, what if I just go back to, like, mass Marine-based armies? Marines deal surprisingly well with, of course, Battlecruisers, despite the fact that Battlecruisers are capital ships. Marines are also far more mobile, so you can quite easily maneuver them around the map. Battlecruisers, of course, can use tactical jump, but it's a one-way trip more often than not. If you tactical jump these towards the bottom right now, you never know if you're gonna get them back out. So, despite the fact right now that Maru is taking out bases in the top left, Kure is doing the same thing in the bottom right. This is a sick game. Oh, sorry, I want to see what happened. Okay, I think one of the observers, while the game was being played, lagged out. Indy out, please. Alright. Anyhow. Man, that's a rough moment to be forced out of the game. Yeah, it is the right thing to do, though. So sadly in StarCraft 2, in case you're unfamiliar, the way that the engine is set up, if one of the observers of the game lags, it lags for the players. Which... It's really stupid. I wish that wasn't the case, but you know what? It is what it is. Well, a couple of siege tanks getting sniped too. Keep in mind, these siege tanks are once again important. Now that Kure is going back to a Marine-based army. Since Maru is also running out of money, he's also forced to go back towards Marines. Kure is just going around the map, killing base after base. The Battlecruiser fleet, though, is quite... There's 8 of them. Still... 13 Vipers available for Kure. He can take care of those Battlecruisers. Like, if he can take this army of Maru in like 2 slices, where first off he fights this army, and then once the interference matrix runs out, he goes for the Battlecruisers. I mean, there is definitely a chance he can even win in a straight up fight. Now he's getting into the natural expo right here of Maru. Once the tanks are in this position, how are you gonna break it? SCVs from Maru running all the way back. Battlecruisers are dealing a lot of damage, but they're also taking some damage here from these missile turrets, which is something that Kure is probably pretty happy with. If this game is gonna come down to a base race, oh my god. Because it feels like that's where we're getting to. Maru's main is absolutely in trouble, though. That's the soft underbelly of the Terran. It's where they are very exposed, okay? Yamato guns. pop those Vikings right out of the skies. I think there's going to be one big clash to decide who wins this game. Okay, here come the Battlecruisers. Yeah, Maru needs to try and hold on to his expo. Or his main base, I guess. Let's see how this goes. There's the anti-armor missiles already coming up. Anti-armor missile going on the right side too. Okay. Both players' armies here are very exposed. Cure has maybe walked himself into a trap as well, going into the main base like that. My god. What are we even looking at? Okay, well, the Battlecruisers are constantly not fighting, yeah. I think Cure probably thought he targeted the BCs, and he did target a couple of them, but he also did accidentally hit a couple of his opponent's Vikings, which brought him a lot of time, right? It's great. But he still needs to address his army. Okay, here come the Marines. There's one siege tank right there on the low ground. That siege tank is going to have an absolute field day, especially with anti-armor missile on those Marines. So Cure decided to back off once more. He can't really go in there, man. Oh my god, he's going to try. He is going to try. He is going to try. I don't know if I like that move. Nice stutter stepping, though, from the Vikings well on both sides. Okay, Marines do eventually get underneath the BCs at the same moment, though. Maru stims his own Marines up that high ground once again. I think he just barely ends up winning this engagement. And he does force that Terran player out of the main base. The problem is, he's lost his main base. He's now actually blinking Maru, that is, Battlecruisers towards the bottom right-hand corner. That's where the reinforcements of Cure just arrived. This is the only mining base right here that Maru actually had. And obviously, in the meantime, on the other side of the map, Cure still has whatever he likes. He can still make quite a large army. Problem is, neither player really has a lot of money anymore. Maru still with 1,000 minerals in the bank really needs to start spending it, but since he lost all of that production of his, there's really no way for him to go ahead and do so. Cure actually not really retaking one of those bases in the top left, it seems. While he was so busy, I think he probably could have actually taken that one and started mining it a little bit more aggressively. Maybe he did, but I feel like the amount of reinforcements he had wasn't as big as it could have been. Maybe I'm mistaken. All right. Here we go. Maru's figured out where his opponent's mining is. So he technically jumps the BCs towards the top left-hand corner. A little bit risky. There's not that many Marines available, though, for Cure. And he's starting to really, yeah, those +3 Battlecruisers just hurt so much. Only one siege tank available right here from Maru too, though. Marines right now are getting sniped. Is there enough here for the pink Terran player to push back this army? Keep in mind, Vikings, I mean, they can land, but they really get shredded by Marines. Oh, he wants to get that so bad. Okay, kills a couple of the Vikings. Nicely done. That Battlecruiser, man. 19 and 24 kills on these, but that Battlecruiser is a red hit points. Looks like he will take care of that last mining base here. In the meantime, Maru has reacquired a command center over here, but he's only got 15 workers. Only 3 SCVs remain, though, for Cure. How many orbitals are we on? Did we lose most orbitals? Oh my god. Yeah, there's still 2 available right there for Maru. That means that Cure is very broke. Like, he has a couple of them remaining. Okay, he's got more than Maru, which is nice, but he doesn't have a lot of energy. Okay, so this, if he can hold on to this base here for a little bit, I think he's gonna be pretty happy. I think I like the units here that Mr. Cure is producing a little bit better than Maru. Those Battlecruisers are great and all, but when there's enough Marines, I feel like they just get shredded. Okay, here we go. Once again, Cure's thinking the same thing. That being said, nice micro right there by Maru, going into a location where the Marines can't get underneath. Little bit of overextension right there from Cure. Probably wanted to back off. Yamato cannon is single target damage, but Maru's like, you know what? This is coming down to the wire. I guess I'll use the cooldown right there on my opponent's anti-air. It is definitely the right call, but we normally don't see Yamato on Marines. Okay. This base is now spotted. I think Cure may have gotten a little bit too aggressive. I think he probably should have not done that move. Okay, he now decides to go. I don't think he's got enough. The Vikings on the ground, once they're landed, they do add in some supplemental damage. Normally, they just get torn apart by Marines, but they only need to buy time for the Battlecruisers to finish finish everything else off. Still though, Once again, yeah, more mules being landed, this time around in the top left-hand corner. Maru has been rebuilding his SCV count, and he's actually getting a decent income. He's now also, once again, rebuilt some infrastructure, so he can start spending some of that bank that he's got. How have I not heard anyone about this game? This game is sick. Oh, I'm glad I'm casting this. Okay, the 2 hero Battlecruisers from Maru. Are they enough to close out this game? They have a ridiculous amount of kills, 36 each. The Marine count, though, is very rapidly climbing. Okay, he decides to jump the BCs back home. They took care of some of the structures inside of the main base of Cure, that supply depot from, like, the 1-minute mark. Taken care of, for example. But I love that movement here from Cure. It looked like he wanted to fight, but I don't think he wanted to. I think he's just buying time for the bases in the top left-hand corner, indeed, to be mining. Which is awesome. Nicely done. Maru's affording another siege tank, which is obviously the counter to those Marines. He's trying to force a stim. Yeah, he's trying to force a stim. +3 tanks. Still very scary. Okay, he does decide to move in right now. Does he have enough? Nice splitting right there on those Marines as well. Guns down to 1 siege tank on the left side. The Battlecruisers, though, are dealing so much damage on those Vikings. My god. You keep thinking, right? Like, you don't see landed Vikings at the 36-minute mark in a regular game of StarCraft. It's really hard to judge their strength. I keep thinking they just get absolutely torn apart, but they buy time for those BCs to get into the battle. That being said, is there enough right now for Maru? I mean, I think there is. I think he's slowly making this better and better for himself. Cure obviously doesn't have the luxury to add on any medivacs or anything along those lines. I think he's gotten a little bit overly aggressive with those Marines of his. I'm just wondering if he would have grouped them all up together, right? Yeah, there it is. I keep wondering if he would have grouped up all of those Marines together that he's been building over the last 6 minutes or so. I think there's probably a very good chance he would have won this game, but obviously we know everything. He's trying to make the best of a very rough situation. He doesn't really know exactly how many resources Maru still has in the bank. Because even though you take care of all of those structures of the opponent, he's slowly going to rebuild. So I think in Cure's mind, he probably assumed that Maru still had like maybe 2, 3, 4,000 resources there. And yeah, if you don't kill him fast, you're just going to get overwhelmed. Anyways, Maru, with some excellent strategic gameplay, ends up winning this game.